telephone, Financial Phil McCoy. Can you believe Gilstrap accusing me of cough shaming him, Phil? I mean, that's totally out of my character.
You are a classic shamer. You shame me on many, many levels.
I don't know where this
years.
Don't know where this comes
from. I can't even
from.
keep track. You shame. Yeah, you do. You shame people.
Rob doesn't have any sympathy some days.
No, he does not. I remember poor Bill Stubblefield brings in cookies. You shamed him over that. It wasn't good enough.
Well, hold on now. Hold on now, Phil.
Don't let him run.
You've never seen my yard.
Hold on.
You've never seen my yard, and you've shamed my yard.
Bill,
you haven't even seen it.
Bill brought in cookies and then ate some of them on the way from his car to the front door here.
I understand, but he still brought you a gift. I don't know. I just kind of see that as like if you brought me a birthday gift and I would complain about how it was wrapped.
No,
I think he's entitled to eating his cookies.
Phil, here's the equivalent. The equivalent would be if I bought you let's say a polo shirt for your birthday, and I wore it to your party, and to give it to you, I took it off my back and gave it to you. Oh, by the way, here's your present, Phil. That's the equivalent.
I would be. Well, maybe, but then I would say, well, Rob gave me the shirt off his back. What a good guy.
No, I don't think you'd say that.
Yeah. Rob, Jenny didn't complain because Forrest ate half the chocolates out of the box. Now, why would you complain if you did at least have one cookie?
Jenny had no reason to complain because she treated Forrest like Gump. I'm telling you that right now.
She did. Yes, Jenny was a bad person.
She was a bad person.
Some people complain about the pile of manure. Some people celebrate the pony, right? So
I thought you were going to say some people celebrate the crops. Yeah. Phil, is it true that you fell asleep at halftime of the late game?
It is so true that the only competitive football that was going on for the weekend, I slept through 90% of it. And my poor wife is sitting here watching it, trying to keep me awake. I would wake up and take a glimpse. I'm like, ooh, we got a game here. And then 8 seconds later, I'm back asleep. It was terrible. I saw it in pieces, so I did see the big parts, but I was falling asleep in between plays. I think every commercial, I just dozed off. I was tired.
Well, you're entitled to sleep. You know, it was a typical Buffalo, Kansas City playoff game. I did not know this till they put the graphic up yesterday. Josh Allen was 4-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, and Patrick Mahomes is 4-0 against Josh Allen in the playoffs.
I didn't know that. I did hear that, and it just goes to show it is crunch time, man. You see them going. I mean, I was thinking about that when they're trying to run the clock out. They were in field goal range. I forget what it was, 3rd and 8 maybe, 3rd and I don't know. And for any other team in the league, that may just be run the ball. You had them burn your timeouts. We'll kick a field goal. We'll kick off to them with, 18 seconds left, and we've won the game. But not Kansas City. They took the risk of having an incomplete pass and threw the ball, got first down, game's over. And that just shows their aggressiveness. Andy Reid, too. I mean, these guys are on a run, man, and it's unparalleled, I think, in the 70 Steelers. Or even including the 70 Steelers. It's unparalleled.
Yeah, they're going to go to their 5th Super Bowl in 6 years. No one's done that, not even New England. Steelers did 4 and 6. The Cowboys did 3 and 4, but nobody's done 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's impressive. And I'm rooting for the Eagles, but as Dylan and I were talking about, if I had to bet, I'm certainly not betting against Kansas City. That's for sure. That's
going to be a heck of a matchup. Philadelphia's lines up front on offense and defense are just so overwhelmingly strong and talented. But Kansas City finds ways to win games. And they keep doing it.
I know. And I'm really rooting for Philadelphia, but I don't know that. I've got nothing against Kansas City. I just like how I like Jalen Hurts. I like Saquon Barkley. I like how they play. They play the way I would wish Pittsburgh would play. But I'd really like to see Philadelphia win that game.
Dylan, you don't have your headphones on, though, do you, Dylan? Can you hear okay? Yeah, I had to remind him. He's a professional broadcaster, too.
I was able to hear you the way that I had it set up there.
Oh, I see.
I wish just even strategically, I know it didn't go well the first time, but someone would hire Steve Spagnuolo as a head coach, especially like an AFC team, just specifically to get him away from the Chiefs, if nothing else. Like, why does he need to have a Hall of Fame head coach and defensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes, that is? Like, why we don't need to give him all of that, and Hall of Fame tight end? Like, come on.
Did the Chiefs have an offensive coordinator other than Andy Reid?
I believe this year it's Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy? Because you never hear his name.
Yeah, I believe Andy Reid has always called the plays. I think sometimes he would give it up. I think Eric Bieniemy would call the plays sometimes.
Where's Bieniemy now?
He's gone downhill. I think he was like UCLA, like offensive analyst. Like he like in the last 3 years he keeps getting demoted. I think people don't like him.
Dang. The Washington game was about, I think, the way many people thought it would go, but I have to say they didn't lose because of Jaden Daniels. The turnovers that they committed were very much typical of what you'd see with an inexperienced team at that level of the playoffs. Mistakes happen. You're just not used to that environment. But it wasn't Jaden Daniels' fault. That kid was just cool. He was calm. He played with great poise. He's a tremendous talent, and they have something there.
I actually, excuse me, I watched that game. Mm-hmm. The tried to reanimate my inner Washington Redskins fan. Dumb.
Let's see, how did that work for you?
It was good for the first half. And then after that, it kind of fell apart. I want to talk about the 20-minute second down there on the goal line.
Oh, and they kept jumping offside.
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, that's many people learned that you can award a touchdown.
Did you know that? I mean,
it wasn't something I remembered, but yes, it has been invoked in the past. Not probably in most people's recent memory. There's an old black and white NFL film highlight, probably from the 40s, of a guy coming off a bench to make a tackle on a long breakaway run, and they awarded a touchdown. Now, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's an awarding of a touchdown that didn't actually physically happen. Yesterday, the referee made it very apparent to Washington, if you keep jumping offside, we have the option of just saying touchdown Philadelphia. Probably caught a lot of people by surprise when he said that.
And that defensive play, which is a ski jump, right? Just sailing over the backs of...
Troy Polamalu made that popular.
What was he trying to do? The ball hadn't moved yet.
You're trying to time the snap so you can hit the quarterback.
The problem there, John, is that the Eagles have essentially perfected this play, which is a guaranteed 1 full yard every time, that they call either the tush push or the brotherly shove, where they get behind the quarterback and push him forward. Other teams have tried to do it, but their offensive line and quarterbacks aren't as strong. The Bills in the next game after that tried to do it, and it kept not working because they weren't doing it quite exactly the same way.
And they kept going left, which Kansas City knew they were going to do.
I watched that Eagles game, watching that, and I was like, okay, we've let this go long enough. Can we ban this? But then the Bills tried to run it, and they ruined it because they couldn't run it right. So now you have the evidence of, well, it's not guaranteed to work every time.
I thought the Washington had a pretty good strategy on that one. The tush push really relies on the guys behind the quarterback to push because the initial surge
and that is how they
met.
scored.
Yeah. So then those guys, first of all, if you go back to the original rule that blockers cannot aid the runner. So you can't push the runner forward. We're in the NFL now where people are just picking people up and dragging them along, and it's legal now. That used to be illegal. So if you want to even that out, go back to enforcing the original spirit of the rule, which is you can't aid the runner. And then Washington had a different approach that I haven't seen people do, but is very smart. They had their guys come off the edge and attack the blockers who were pushing from behind, because they did stop Philadelphia on one of those. And that's a whole new method of thinking outside the box. Don't attack the quarterback. We'll let our guys up front stall him. Attack the blockers who are pushing them forward. And they did that, and it actually worked. I thought that was a pretty brilliant strategy. Right?
Yeah.
Phil, as I look at the markets this morning, I am seeing pandemonium, man. Massive losses for the major indices. The Dow's losses are the least of the other two, but the NASDAQ at one point this morning was down 4.5%. It's down 3.5% now. The S&P is down 2%. Dow futures are off 0.75%. What's the reason for these precipitous drops?
Oh boy! And over the weekend, we hear news that there's a new artificial intelligence out of China that is cheaper and just as good as what all of these big companies have invested in and poured billions and billions and billions of dollars in. In particular, let's look at the two of the three largest companies in the world, Microsoft and NVIDIA, and they are the ones that's leading this downward trend. Now, some companies are just guilty by association. I think Apple's holding on a little bit better than those two because they haven't gone in full force on the artificial intelligence, but Amazon and anyone that has invested tons of money into NVIDIA's technology, or saying, oh boy, the perception that we were going to make a lot of money off of this in the near future has just been taken away. But I would caution, and it's not to say that this doesn't have legs, it's that we don't know that it has legs. And there's always a regulatory piece of it that could kind of slow this down. So there's a lot of information coming out of China, and as we know, we can't always take that at face value. But their claim is that they've got a much cheaper artificial intelligence that doesn't require the energy that we thought that this, what NVIDIA has come up with. And I think it's called R1 is the name of it. But there's a lot of information to be had on this. And it just so happens that a lot of these companies are reporting earnings this week, and I'm sure that's going to be front of mind as they're speaking after the earnings call. So that's going to change the narrative from what we really would like it to be with, on these earnings calls, with how much money has your company made, what's the profits look like, what's the bottom line look like, to that forward-looking guidance yet again. So after the earnings come out, they always speak, and this is what we anticipate, and this is what we see. And I'm sure that this R1 artificial intelligence is going to be front of mind in all of those earnings calls. So there's going to be a lot of info to come out as the week drags on. But essentially, what we have given back is what we have made on the mega tech front so far in 2025 in overnight trading. Which, keep in mind, overnight trading is lightly traded. There's not a lot of trades going on overnight, but going into the open, it looks ugly.
See, I see AOL all over again, not the same magnitude, but lots of people investing lots of money into technology they really don't understand, because I don't think anybody really understands it. And then along comes somebody else, and then some people make a lot of money, some people lose a whole lot of money, and at the end, nobody understands. So the idea of investing into these tech stocks has always been very off-putting to me, and I've always avoided doing it because it seems it's the same roller coaster. It's just if you're great at market timing, and I know how much people in your line of work support this. It seems like it's a roll of the dice. Yes, wow, we've got this great new thing, AI. Wow, it's going to run the world, and it is. And we put our money into this company, and then along comes the new kid in the short pants. It's got the better idea, and then it switches, and nobody understands why.
Yeah, and when we look at in comparison to AOL, and it's not just a few companies, but it's widespread. So from a financial widespread with Megatech, but from a financial advisor standpoint, you want to be diversified. We always talk about diversification. It is boring. It's really boring when you look at what we're really doing. We're raising the floor on what can happen with the portfolio, but in a lot of cases we're lowering the ceiling because we are spreading out one's assets instead of throwing everything over into Megatech because, hey, look, this is the way to go. Look how much money it's making. But having said that, there is a fair amount of money just because of the size of the companies, so they're not ignored. So when you look at so many people get into ETF and just indice-type investing, which I can't say is a bad idea if you're looking at something over the course of 40 years, but there is a fallacy in that. Is that if you just took the SPY and said, hey, how's this broken down, it is very top-heavy in Megatech. And that's why we're talking about that this morning, because the largest part of our market lies within those companies, and now they're tumbling off of news that we got out of. And really think about this. And I'm not trying to downplay, the sell-off, and maybe it does have legs. The fact is we don't know. But on the surface of this, we're saying, hey, this is news that came out of a news source that isn't trustworthy in China. We've gotten fake information from them in the past, and there's holes. Is this just a screen scraping, and now we're just taking this as a matter of law? But if you kind of slow down and think of hopefully the brilliant minds that run NVIDIA and run Microsoft and the teams of people, did they not know that something like that out there was available? Were they not aware that something like that was available in this open world that we have? And I tend to think that they probably did. And if they did, there's huge faults in this R1 or deep seek, as what this company is called, is there's huge flaws in this, and it can't actually compete with us, and we know what we have is going to be the way forward. I tend to lean that way, opposed to, oh boy, this just came out over the weekend and it's going to end the 2, 3, 4 years that we've built up on its artificial intelligence hope, and this is what we're using, and this is the money that we're going to make off of it. I tend to lead the other way, that they did know that this type of information or this type of company was out there and what capabilities it had, but that's yet to be seen, and we'll find that out in the coming weeks, months, maybe years. It may take a while, but we will find that out when it's put to use in widespread use.
Well, Phil, isn't working the stock market about trying to look into your crystal ball and basically chasing the trends that's going on and trying to stay one step ahead?
No, to be quite honest with you, that's the exact opposite of what we do, Bill. When we look at trends, we tend to, more than anything, we kind of move away from trends instead of steering into the curb with trends. We remain diversified no matter what. And I know I come on and we talk, and John comes on and we talk about recent trends and what's doing well and what's doing poorly. But when we talk about what's doing well, I assure you that we're holding a little bit less than that, than what most people are. And we talk about what's doing poorly, I assure you we're holding a little bit more than that in our overall books than what most people are. So we remain diversified regardless. Now, that doesn't mean we're blind. And, one example of that would be, as we turn into, we always kind of shoo away politics, and we do. We shoo away the politics to the extent that we can, but to ignore in November that there's going to be a change in leadership, and that change is going to bring about less regulation, and financials is going to start doing better. You started to see in our overall portfolios. And make no mistake, John and Tyler and I, we're not sitting here picking companies to go into a portfolio. We pick portfolio managers, and we pick those managers based off of their ability to stay diversified and not chase the rainbow, if you will. And we look at their performance in down markets more so than we look at their performance in up markets. Everybody does well in up markets. So we look at how they do in the 2022s of the world and measure. That's a big part of how we measure those guys. But to assume that, just on one hand, we're shooing away some of these trends, but on another, we can't be blind in, knowing that regulation is coming or less regulation is coming about, and financials are going to do much better because of this. It's not a hot topic. You don't hear about it. It's not really exciting. Bank of America or one of these financial companies isn't going to jump 12% overnight in most cases. So it doesn't get a lot of headlines. But as you look at our portfolios, and we paid really close attention to the portfolio managers that we use, do we see more financials starting to pop up? Is it on a higher level of investing than what it was just a month ago? And that's exactly what we saw. And quite honestly, some of these companies like NVIDIA and so forth, they took a little step back in those. They trimmed those off. So it remained diversified no matter what, and it touched we touch all asset classes regardless. So we do have blinders on to some extent, but we're not blind, if you will.
Well, in your line of work, though, you can't separate politics from reality, right? From real world results. Just in the last week, Donald Trump's been very Trumpian in his first week. The electric car mandate is gone. ANWR is being reopened for drilling. He did a very anti-solar power kind of speech. It seems we're getting away from the picking winners and picking sort of mentality.
Yeah.
That has to have, I would think, an effect on the markets. So where you sit now, excuse me, in terms of, we'll just take the electric vehicle versus internal combustion vehicle. The weight has been taken off the scale in favor of the electric car with the electric car mandate going away, at least for 4 years. How do you help? What do you recommend your clients do, and how do you manage these unsettled times, not for those who have a portfolio that necessarily need to be rebalanced, but the ones who are coming in today?
But the ones coming in today are the ones that need the rebalancing the most, just to be quite honest with you. So those coming in, and I'm assuming you're talking about someone close to retirement or nearing retirement, or they've made a job change and they've got an existing portfolio.
I'm looking at Bill Kearns right now as you say that, Phil.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Bill. Come see us. So 1270 Winchester Avenue, right here, Mark.
There you go.
But and maybe I should rephrase when we say we don't get political. We don't let our own political beliefs or our own desires or our own wants and needs to bleed into how we're suggesting people place their money or how what asset classes to place their money in. We're looking at it from a standpoint of the portfolio managers that we use. We sit in meetings and do what I'm doing right now all day long. It's why I tend to talk over the 9 o'clock hour, because we just do this all day long and talking to our clients. So there's many times Rob will text me something in the middle of the day or 2 o'clock about what's going on with the market, and I have no idea what he's talking about because I've been in a meeting all day. So we don't actually sit down, and we're not stock pickers, as John would say. We're not picking the stocks. We're picking the portfolio managers, and we're relying on them to do the right thing and to kind of steer with the curve if whatever's going on in the political markets. But we don't place our own. And for what I guess what I would say by that is if we have someone in the office that is that's a Democrat and they're into green energy, we're not going and putting clients' money into green energy because that person likes green energy. Or if we have someone extremely conservative, we're not looking for per se. We have a few clients that's asked for it, and we've placed it in them. But conservative portfolios, that's removing anyone that has extreme liberal views. We don't do that. We don't place any of that. If we think, or if the market is right, or if the world is right for green energy, we'll invest in it. We don't care whether we like it or not. There's all kind of companies that we have that our clients have money in that we don't personally like the companies or what they're doing. We remove that part of it. So our own bias, we have to remove that and let the portfolio managers of the world take care of that. We rely on them and their performance.
All right, Phil, 2 weeks minus a day till the Super Bowl. Give me your pick and a score.
Oh, man, this is really tough because my heart says the Philadelphia Eagles, but everybody that listens knows I always follow my heart because I've never picked against the Steelers. I'm going to say the Philadelphia Eagles run the ball down their throats and they win 32-26. I'm going with the Eagles to break the streak and get their first Super Bowl.
All right, how do we reach you for more information?
Not first Super Bowl, but
how do we reach you today for more information about what we talked about?
You can reach us at 304-263-4343 or stop by and see us with an appointment at 1270 Winchester Avenue right here in Martinsburg.
Thank you, Phil. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Catch 2 minutes of Phil on the markets every morning at 6:38, replayed at 7:38. This is Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg and TV 10.